here we are. It's time for the Kickstart Post-Mortem. I always think that's a weird phrase that they use, when you talk about it's the end of something, talk about what happens
The
afterwards.
autopsy.
The autopsy.
Yeah.
So I guess before we get into how you felt about the festival, tell us a little bit about how you prepared for this. When did the prep work start for Kickstart 2?
Probably on Kickstart 1. Because I got drunk and I was like, we've got to get Pete Cannon. We've got to get people like that. But yeah, probably on Kickstart 1 was where ideas have started forming in my head. And for Kickstart 3, they're already forming now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So through, at what point in Kickstart 1 were you pretty sure it was going to happen again?
After I did it and there was the enthusiasm of people and everyone was like, this is great. And yeah, it's tough to do with events. I've done events in the past, and people have kept pushing them and there's been mess ups, there's been all sorts, with events anything can happen.
Right.
And I thought the driving force behind people wanting it to happen and making it a good thing and wanting to contribute is something special. So
yeah. Absolutely. So we had the event at Notts County Football Club. Were there any other venues that you were checking out, after Kickstart 1, or did you settle on that venue pretty early?
For Notts County, I settled on it because of having the extra floor up at the top. It's so hard in Nottingham to get good venues. We've got a big problem with parking in the city centre. And I have chosen Nottingham because it's what I know.
Yeah.
I could do it in another city in the Midlands, but it would be such a trek.
Yeah. If you forget something, across, it's hard to run home and grab it.
Drive home and grab it, yeah.
Yeah.
But there are new spaces that are being developed also by the football clubs and stuff. And I love a football club because it has all the facilities. They have the capacity for food, they have this parking space, they have all of that, and that's really important with these things.
Yeah, yeah. So Kickstart 1, you had it at the same place, right? Notts County?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do anything differently, floor plan wise between Kickstart 1 and Kickstart 2?
I increased the community room because that was a bit sparse, but also added in a few other things like Reese's Atari prototypes, TX 1960, I can never remember which number it is, but Spectrum Next Game, Rob Smith, and tried to fill out that area because last time we had the food as soon as you came in.
Oh, I see.
So people they just came in and saw people eating in that room, and then they didn't realise there was this whole selection of user groups behind it. So I put that at the far end.
Yeah, that makes sense. This year, I think the biggest difference that I heard from people is that the air conditioning was fully functional and was very comfortable.
Yeah, well, I did a survey afterwards, and there were two big things that came up. There's other stuff, there always is with events, but two big things was disabled access, the ability to not get disabled spaces, which last time was taken up by footballers as well as, there were other staff there as well, so traders had parked the cars as well, so that was a concern. And the great thing about it was it's really accessible, so we've got the lifts and everything, so it just makes sense to embrace the disabled customers. And at one point I saw there were 5 people in wheelchairs, and they were waiting to go on the lifts and stuff, and they could go up to the talks, go round, there's enough space as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I really got to take my hat off to you for keeping those people in mind, because I think in so many retro events, they're an afterthought.
And we also had a disabled person displaying.
Yeah, exactly. We had an exhibitor, which was amazing.
Really good, yeah. And that accessibility is good. And then also, the aircon was another thing, because it is in summer, having an event and having that fixed. And even at the Afterparty, we had aircon in the club.
Right.
Which is really important with these things, because I've been to so many of these events, and if you're sweating, you're running outside all the time to try and get something. And I know some people said the aircon was quite cool this year, a bit too cold at one point.
You can't please everybody.
You can't please everyone, but then when I came out of the event into the day, I was like, oh my God, take me back in.
Because it was really it was warm when you came out of there this weekend. So I want to go, Ravi. I want to kind of take you through Kickstart mentally, and I want to talk about what each room had in it that you really found was extraordinary. So let's start with the traders room. This was sort of Kickstart HQ, where you were kind of headquartered there most of the event. What did you see there that you just found to be really extraordinary?
Well, we had a few new traders, which was really good, and we had some older ones. One I thought was Immortal Joysticks. They had this huge stand that was like CRT monitors on there. Did you see the PVMs? Mm-hmm. These massive ones.
Huge ones and tiny ones. They had all sizes.
And they were amazing because they were all using Immortal Joysticks. And the last time we had Immortal Joysticks at the show, they were just setting up their funding. They were setting up their initial design and products. So they were just showing that off. And this time they had a full one. Mm-hmm. I don't think they had much intention on selling any, but they sold loads, and most of the stalls I saw and other machines had Immortal Joysticks on them.
Yeah. They kind of became the de facto joystick of the show.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought was cool about them is that not only did they have their classic design, which is it's sort of a unique thing where you have the stick on the top and the buttons on the bottom. They had bespoke two-stick joysticks set up in Robotron style. So you could play Rogue Declan and Hoffman's game. How do you pronounce that?
Cedioid or
something like that. I was hoping you knew because I wasn't sure. But anyway,
I did, but my brain's fried at the
Hoffman's
moment.
game, another twin stick shooter. So that was cool, and they have technology that they have like a vinyl wrap that goes over. It looks like an arcade stick. It's super cool. So what else? What else did you see in there?
There was a new stall. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name because there was so many kind of things going on, but they had candles as well that were retro flavored and scented, and they sold quite a few of those.
That's awesome.
And I thought that was quite cool because there were a couple, and one was selling devices and his wife was selling candles. Mm-hmm. She said she sold quite a lot, which is pretty cool. And then seeing the GS on sale, an Amiga kit with their other system, they're like actually had 2 Amiga systems on sale at the event. Which
Amiga kit kind of dominated that whole back, of the traders room. They had
sold out of them.
Yeah. How many X1000s did they sell? About 4, something like that.
3 or 4, but the towerized systems as well. They sold one of them, so that's all built into a tower from A-Media France. Wow. Also, 34 of the minis, the GS
34 sold. Unbelievable. So that's got to make the developer of that feel good because he put a lot of time and effort into
and I understand RetroCon was the show before us where they had a few on sale and they also sold. So,
that's great. That's great. Anything else you want to talk about in the trader room?
I just thought it had a good vibe and stuff like seeing other people back like Stephen Jones and some of the other traders, Retro Passion, Addy's Display Retro Easy was really big as well. Mm-hmm. But just seeing how they've grown and developed, Digital Retro Bay. Yeah. It was really good, and I'd like to see some more people in there as well in the future, and we're going to try and get some more international ones.
It's always nice when you have a mixture of returning traders and exhibitors and new ones because that the returning ones they realized it was worth the investment to come back out again after the first Kickstarter.
Yeah, and we were going to have PowerShark USB there, and sadly they couldn't make it just due to unfortunate circumstances. But I really want to see their little device there. I think that would have been
the USB power supply, right?
USB-C one.
Yeah, super cool. So let's move on to the community room. So tell me about your original idea for the community room.
So the idea for the community room is to have like a space where there's no kind of control from us. It's a space given to people that we hire. It means they can do what the hell they want. There doesn't have to be any commercial kind of selling there. Mm-hmm. They can sell if you want, you can trade. Mm-hmm. But meet people, create projects, do mad stuff together, meet people that you've talked to online before, but also get all these groups together in one kind of place.
And you had more community groups than you could shake a stick at this thing. Who were some of the community groups that were represented?
Well, Norwich Amiga Group. Mm-hmm. They're great. They do streaming. They're always meeting up, very active. Yeah. They had 2 big tables. The Scottish Amiga group.
The Scottish dudes.
Yeah, the Scottish dudes. They had a big Scottish flag. They actually originally had one table and then they extended into two. Some other people bought extra table as well. There was Red Arrow user group as well, which is one that I'd not previously heard of, that came in and grew. And then we had our local Robin Hood Amiga group there, which was good, and they were running Windows 3.1 on an Amiga, which
is insane stuff going on. Yeah.
But there was also Big D as well, and he had a really good setup, which was twinned Napalm and
two Amigas connected with a serial.
No, this was a full network.
Network
that was created, so it's network play.
Wow,
which
an ad
I've
hoc
not
network.
Experienced before.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I've done the serial link, but having a network like that, and the effort he put in to maintain the network was great, and we had a sensible World of Soccer tournament as well.
Right. And then in addition to the community room, you just had a couple fun exhibits, and so you had Reese with the Atari representation.
Yeah. And he bought so many things. Had a nice links display in the corner. I would say next time maybe we could get some Jags involved.
Oh yeah, you gotta get the Jag in there.
In the Amiga Atari link up, we need to do that as well. So playing Lotus together.
Right. Yeah. And then you had the retro directory guy, Rob Smith. Is that?
Rob Smith is like the mad professor, and like as soon as you came into that room, I put him at the very front because his stuff is so exciting and bizarre. And like going into there last year, we had just people eating the food, and then we had the user groups, and it kind of split it off a bit. But having Rob there, like you come in and you're seeing his mad disc cleaner lighting up and his floating boing ball and all kinds of. He's a very neon guy, isn't he?
It's like when Marty walks into the professor in Back to the Future, when he walks into his workshop, and there's the smoke and stuff coming out, and you got this crazy guy doing stuff. That was so cool. And then that was also where the food was too. So you provided food for everybody at the event.
We sold food at the grounds, standard kind of football food stuff. Like I'm always thinking of more food options as well. It'd be good to get some food vans involved.
But it's always nice when people don't have to leave the venue to go out and eat. Because people, they travel a long way, they pay for tickets, and they want to spend as much time with everybody as they can. So bringing the food to them is always a great move. So we talked about the exhibitors, we talked about the traders. Let's talk about the upstairs and what was going on up there.
That was great because I had a host called Boatofcar, Shawler.
I've heard he's the best.
That came over from America and hosted the panels, and that was really nice because the reason I asked you was I thought I love the Amigos podcast, and I thought there's no one that studies games as well, but then also has a nice kind of rapport with it. I know when you and Aaron are on the show, you'll say something and then you'll come up with something like, but why?
Right.
And I wanted that, and that was right because we had the A600 Amiga kit people on, and they wanted to get the message across, and you asked the right questions about like what makes it different from the Amiga Mini.
Right.
Like what does GS stand for? These are the ones you don't want to have to try to dig them out. It's good to have them like on the table.
Right.
And they appreciate that because they can talk about it and people get it more. Like I didn't know that the A600 GS was linked to B52 sock.
Yeah, and it continues the tradition of naming the boards
and
after
I thought
those
that
songs.
was really smart. Yeah. And then just the stuff like Stu Cambridge and Tony Warrener, because I put you guys all together in an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And you all went out for a pint and stuff.
That was a genius move because that first night we all Tony and Stu knew each other, but they didn't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
And so they're like, who's this American guy, but that first night we just sat up all night talking together. And so when it was time for our talks, the next day, we were already kind of familiar with each other, and we didn't need to break that ice at all.
You had a rapport as well, which
we could
is
hit
good,
the ground running.
Because it's not like just going straight into it and like, take a while for people to refresh and warm up to each other,
Exactly. So the talks were, I think you had, I talked to the three sort of luminaries of the software, of the Amiga past, Tony Warrener and Stu Cambridge and Mike Daly. They each were very different people. You know, not only did they work on different games, obviously, but 3 totally different personalities.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
like a full range of different personalities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that made it fun for the listeners too, because it wasn't just everybody wasn't just outgoing or gregarious. You know, some were more reserved, and so I thought that was I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but that was very clever.
No, I just think that's how they are, and like I also wanted to choose really good British companies.
Yeah.
As well,
Yeah.
and that's a good thing to showcase.
Right.
In the future, of course, Amiga's an American machine, so I'd love to get some American original Amiga developers over.
Absolutely.
That is one of my aims, to get them at the event. But having that profile on British developers is great. I'd love to do Gremlin. We did Core last year with Simon Phipps as well. We did Bullfrog with Alex Travers. So, you know, getting a lot of the British companies in there.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And then it was time for the after party.
Yeah.
So tell me about what was the lead up to the after party like throughout the course of the day. Were you nervous at all about it?
I was nervous about Pete Cannon because I hadn't heard from him, even though I'd like been arranging
He'd gone dark the day.
Yeah. So, and then he just like appeared on my phone that he checked into the hotel. So I was like, okay, he's in Nottingham.
At least he's here.
That's good. But then the after party was interesting because we had a new venue. We also had, I tried a new approach with a band, which was, first started with Hexial, who did a really nice kind of synthy build-up set. Then I started a new approach with the Donkey Kong Country guys.
Yeah.
And they do a cover band, which is not to everybody's taste,
Right.
but I think it's amazing that you've got these developers that created this
Yeah.
world famous game, and they're kind of
They're playing covers.
cover tunes. Yeah.
And it's also a nice. You don't want everything to be EDM. It doesn't all have to be dance music. You know, you can have some acoustic stuff in there.
Well, also I thought 5 hours of kind of computer game music might be a bit jarring. And, And kind of, to me, I used to go to rock venues and just drink to like those kind of rock tunes.
Yeah.
And that was how I'd get set up for the night.
Right.
It was a long day, so having that 4-hour break and then having that kind of gig afterwards was...
So explain your thought process for having the 4-hour break between the show and the after party.
It was just because I didn't think people would be able to survive. If you go for... You need to refresh. You need to go get some food. I needed to do that anyway as well, and it was a good time for us to have the sound checks, stuff like that. But also what I loved was the idea that people could go and have their own meals, go to a place they went last year, have a little bit of meal, and then you've got friendships forming and separate groups, and you don't have to turn up at the bang start of the after party. You can roll in after you've had a few beers and a curry. Or,
Yeah.
And I thought that was good. And then we had Paulie Alex Bow come on. Amazing set, absolutely wicked. Paulie always brings it with the synth style and the live kind of performance, also using the Amiga hardware.
Amazing.
This point of the night, everyone was getting a bit smashed, and I think that build-up of the night kept the crowd there, but also, when the switch happened, well, first, I don't know if it's Paulie's Amiga, I'm not going to blame Paulie's setup, but the power tripped to the stage.
Oh, no.
And this is like, oh my God, this was just as Pete Cannon had turned up. So I've got the main headliner outside, the power's cut, Paulie's on stage, and then I'm like, this is all going a bit mad. And then suddenly the sound system came back up, Paulie managed to finish the set, Hoffman came on, and Hoffman brings the madness no one else. And then Pete was loving it because he was also at an Amiga event, which was really cool because he's an Amiga fan himself.
Yeah.
Hoffman was smashing it. He was chatting with him, and then he went on and did the final kind of set. And the thing that I loved was I used to listen to rave music. I used to listen to demos and just sit there listening to the music going, watching the graphics and stuff. And a lot of people, he played a lot of tunes people haven't heard since the 90s.
Oh.
People were going for it, dancing.
Yeah.
It's a real kind of blowout. And the whole vibe of the place, some of Pete's crowd turned up and stuff, and it changed, and it just felt like, I don't know, you could just let loose.
Yeah.
And you weren't going to be judged or anything like that.
One thing that I think everybody watching might not know is that the after party wasn't limited to people that attended Kickstart.
That's the whole thing, yeah. You know, like I could have made it a whole Amiga night. It'd be an Amiga people all night. But what I want to do is try to expand the show.
Yeah.
And by doing that, bringing in other people. You know, we had 30 or 40 people there that weren't Amiga people that had just kind of come along.
Right.
Some of my mates as well were there and stuff. Some of Pete's mates. There was just some local Nottingham crew. There was a photographer that came from America that was just in town.
Yeah.
And was like, this sounds mad.
That's
like,
awesome.
and hopefully they'll go, why is this thing happening? Why is there this weird creative vibe?
Yeah.
Where's it coming from? And then they might get an interest in the show and get an interest in Amiga. So I'm going to always keep the show Amiga focused. You know, that's a primary focus. The music night, well, knowing me, it's going to be majority Amiga acts, but you're going to have some stuff in there that's different.
Yeah.
And that appeals to the wider kind of audience and group. And that way, I think the kind of after party can complement the show.
Absolutely.
And still be a really fun thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's really cool. You know, I've had a chance to explore Nottingham with you and with Stu and Tony over the past 4 days. And I've got to say, this seems like the perfect British city to hold an event like this, because, not just because I'm blowing smoke, but because it's got a city center that's navigable.
It's small, yeah.
It's small.
Yeah.
You can plant yourself there, and you can spend an evening walking around, and you can really get a feel of the place.
Yeah.
So when you have to make your way from Knott's Football Club to the city center and find the after hours, you know, the after party, you can do it without a lot of hassle.
And like the public transport's good and
the public transport's
and
very good.
It's like any city. It's got issues and all of that, but you've probably seen the best of it because we've taken you around to all the 4 days of a whirlwind tour, because you know you're only here for the moment,
weekend,
and it's like get as much in as possible. We went to Warhammer World today. That
was amazing.
That was wicked.
Yeah. So at the end of it, did you feel like it was over in a flash, or did you feel like it took forever? You know.
Well, this is Sunday night, and this is the day after it.
This is the day
Monday
after.
night. Even.
Monday
You
night.
see, I can't even remember what day it is, and I still haven't taken it in. You know, I'm seeing people's photos and videos appearing on YouTube and stuff, and it still seems like I'm planning it. It's weird. I don't think it's going to take a while till it settles in.
Yeah.
And I'm back to normal life and work and stuff, and then I'm kind of like can reflect on it more. And I'm going to do a survey as well and see what people think about it and what could be improved and stuff. And
what was the about how many people attended Kickstart this year?
so we had we sold 300 tickets for the Saturday, and then we have 50 on top of that with the traders, and the people just around and staff and stuff like that. Then Afterparty was like 170.
Yeah.
That number over 5 hours kind of fluctuated up and down.
Sure.
And then Sunday, I think, was about 170 to 200 with staff. But then I think on Sunday, a few people were so wrecked from the night before that they didn't make it. They were just like, I'm kind of done.
Well, I was really impressed that there were the amount of people that were there on Sunday. It was more than I expected.
You had 60 or 70 in Tony's talk. I did a head count.
And I was a little worried because, you know, I was talking to Tony before the event and we got there, and I think he was a little bit nervous that it wasn't going to be a huge crowd, but they really came out to see him. And it was well he was well represented, and
I thought the raffle was good as well. We did the raffle at the end, and there was some great prizes that people had donated. And some of the people winning the big prizes were actually there on the spot, so it was really nice to do that.
It was great. And you raffled off a Checkmate case, a Boing ball,
and a A500 replacement case as well.
And a bunch of other things too. So lots of great raffle prizes.
And that's the thing, like the companies really helped support it as well. So everyone got a free license from Calanto. For their software, even though they weren't there. They were still supporting it.
So everybody that went to Kickstart got a free Amiga Forever and C64 Forever.
And like licensed ROMs.
The licensed Kickstart ROMs.
So in a sense, you could even get OS4 and you could run it on WinUAE. And run OS4, which is like mad.
Exactly.
Just for the price of the OS.
As you move forward, when do you normally start planning the next Kickstart?
I'll start planning.
It never stops, right?
No. I'm going to stop after school holidays. Because I work at school. So after the kind of long holidays, but probably even after that, I'll come up with some ideas. Thing is, this year I've already had people contact me about next year.
Yeah.
So a few things are already happening. One that looks good is Fast Loaders. I don't know if you know that.
No.
They're like a German heavy metal guitar group.
Oh, okay.
That do stuff like Last Ninja.
Oh, awesome.
All together, like.
Yeah.
And they proper shred, and like they did Amiga Germany, and they were saying we really want to be at your next event.
That would be super
and perform
sweet.
live.
Yeah.
So if I would do like them, I would then pick an act afterwards that would be something more wide ranging.
Yeah.
And then I'd put in some other DJs as well. Like there's a lot of drum and bass and other DJs that have used Amiga. There's some. I can never get Calvin Harris, but
yeah, maybe not unless he has a.
I could try.
Yeah, maybe in about 20 years. So, when you run the show, you have a bunch of staff around you that are really supportive, right?
Yeah. So Kyle is like my assistant, and he's just great. Like you met Kyle, and he helped oil the machinery out, get everything going, everything working. And on the Sunday when I was completely hungover, he opened it up for me, and he's done that twice, and he just loves it. He's one of my old colleagues. Andy as well this year we added to the staff.
So you had a professional sound operator doing all the talks this year,
professional engineer recording it, which also meant the sound was a lot better for people in there, because that was one thing last year, people couldn't hear it. And we were using an inbuilt PA in a room with all the other traders.
It's just
this time you could hear it even in the other little bar area at the back, so you could sit in there. That was just good because it took the stress off me, and that was a lot. This is where a lot of the money goes. It's investing in the show, making sure it's a good production, and that's an investment in the kind of future. We got flags this year. We had a few more better signage. We had a few more extra things just to help it all kind of go along. And I also think like Tom was great, who's a sound engineer that we had, the stage manager.
Oh,
we had
the
for the
Afterparty.
Afterparty. So helped it all kind of work, helped the rehearsals happen, and the performers really appreciated that. And when the sound system went down and stuff,
there was somebody that could jump to the rescue. And
there were 2 or 3 people that were on it, you know, that really helped.
Like I said, I think it's important that people know that when it comes to running a show, the money that you spend on a ticket goes to make the show the best it can be. You're not just paying your buddies who don't have any experience to help you with various things. You've got professionals in every field, whether it's Kyle, who's professional customer service, customer relations. You've got Andy, who's he's worked with Blondie, he's worked with all these huge acts.
I remember you talking to Andy for ages.
Yeah.
But also like we had like the passion behind it as well. Last year we had a guy called Taz Lean, and he ran the community space. He's so nice and he's so attentive. This year he couldn't make it because he's gone to Pakistan and he's working there for a bit, helping his parents. But he was sending me messages from Pakistan going, I hope the Kickstart setup's gone well. So he still even had a passion for it and an eye for it out there, and that's just mad.
Right. So how would you? I mean, as you were taking it all in on the day, maybe on like Saturday afternoon, where it was sort of at its height in terms of people. Did you feel like it was just a super positive vibes? Everybody was having a good time.
Just saw lots of smiling faces, lots of happy people, and I was a bit more. Would that help? Like Kira as well, and some people in the grounds and stuff. It was a bit more relaxed. Last year it was just like
you were doing everything.
I was doing everything. So and that was good. And it also with the more people there's a lot of people going, I didn't come last year. I've really enjoyed this year. I'm going to come next year. And that's the thing that I want, just people to know that it's a thing and know that it's going to deliver every year and enjoy it.
All right. Well, I think if you were gonna make a pitch for next year's Kickstart already to our listeners right now, our viewers, what can they expect? No details, but just overall, what can they expect? What will you deliver for Kickstart 3?
Oh, you put me under pressure because I've planned nothing.
I'll tell you what you can expect. You can expect a positive, exciting,
Amiga 40th birthday.
passionate Amiga 40th birthday without leaving Great Britain. You can it's going to be one of those things where you're going to come to this thing, even if you don't bring a machine, if you just bring yourself, you're going to love it because you're going to be surrounded by people that share your common past, your common nostalgia for this great machine that continues to be a big part of our lives today.
Yeah, you didn't need me to do it. That was perfect.
So guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And until then, adios.
That was good. I think it was a nice chat.
Yeah, we went